On the morning of March 22, 2011, 24-year-old Rebecca Coriam failed to show up for her shift aboard the Disney Wonder cruise ship. The vessel, sailing between Mexico and the U.S., had already left port when the crew realized she was missing. Despite a frantic search, Rebecca was nowhere to be found. To this day, no one knows what happened to her. Rebecca was from Chester, England, cheerful, athletic, and adventurous. She'd worked with Disney for over a year, responsible for youth activities on board. Friends described her as outgoing, responsible, and always smiling. The night before she vanished, security cameras captured her walking through the crew lounge around 5:45 a.m., wearing men's clothing and speaking on a phone. She appeared upset. That was the last confirmed sighting of her. When she didn't report for work later that morning, crew members searched her cabin. Her personal belongings, including her passport and ID, were still there. The ship's security team began reviewing CCTV footage, and a man overboard alert was eventually raised. But by then, the Disney Wonder was hundreds of miles from the nearest port. Disney reported that Rebecca had likely been swept overboard by a rogue wave while standing on an open deck. But her family and many maritime investigators found that explanation unconvincing. The weather that morning had been calm. The area Disney identified as the likely spot of her fall had high safety railings, and no clear evidence she'd been there. Even stranger, the ship continued its voyage as usual, docking later that day in Mexico. The Bahamian authorities, responsible for the investigation since the ship was registered in the Bahamas, sent a single officer to inspect the scene. He stayed only a few hours, interviewed a handful of crew members, and left with little documentation. Rebecca's parents later traveled to meet the ship when it returned to port. They were led to her cabin and shown CCTV footage of her final moments, which they described as deeply troubling. They've since said that Disney provided few answers and tightly controlled information about the investigation. Over the years, witnesses have come forward claiming to have seen Rebecca after her official time of disappearance, though none of those reports were ever verified. Independent investigators believe her case highlights the lack of oversight and accountability in international waters, where jurisdiction becomes blurred. More than a decade later, the mystery remains. What really happened to Rebecca Coriam aboard the Disney Wonder? A young woman full of life walking through the quiet corridors of a ship that never stopped sailing, vanishing somewhere between the stars and the sea.